So what type of real estate makes the most money? Curious minds want to know. So this is attorney and investor Bob Diamond. I'm here to tell you what works the best, which ones are the most lucrative, and very importantly, stay on till the end, because there I'm going to tell you the mistakes that people make that get them into bad deals and lead them into really bad financial places so that you can avoid them. So let's start off with what kind of real estate you might be thinking about. You might think about a fix and flip, for example. Fix and flip, you see it on TV all the time. They buy a house, they fix it up, it's kind of fun and interesting, and then they sell it and they make a big slug of money. That can be really good. I'll get into all the details on that shortly. You might also be thinking about, what about landlording? And when I was young, my dad had a couple of triplexes and rentals, and other than making a really key mistake that I'll tell you about later, he was doing great, but that key mistake absolutely sunk him. That can be a really amazing business. Rentals are fantastic if you do it properly, as long as you don't make the wrong mistakes. You also might be thinking about some more innovative things. You might be thinking about, well, I've heard about wholesaling, what's that? Or I've heard about short-term rentals, what's that? We're going to cover all those things because those can be wonderful, wonderful things. Or you may be thinking about commercial real estate. Now in this video, I'm not going to cover commercial real estate very much because commercial real estate, in my view, is probably a more advanced topic than someone who's asking the question, what kind of real estate makes the most money? That's very advanced. It involves a lot of money, a lot of capital, a lot of sophisticated analysis. So I'd say let's start out with the smaller properties, which is probably what you're thinking about anyway. So let's take it from the top with fix and flips. That looks really exciting, right? You see all these shows, flip this house, flip that house, flip my house, flip your house, all those crazy shows. You may have even seen me on some of them. I'm on some of those shows. Lots of fun, very interesting, but I will tell you it is much harder than it appears from the TV show. Now what's harder? The harder thing that they don't talk about is finding the good enough deal. That is absolutely the key to the whole thing, because what people do is they think, oh, I'll just go out with a realtor, look at a couple of houses, and it'll be great. It won't be, because you need a wholesale source for finding properties. Now that may be buying at tax sale, it may be buying at mortgage foreclosure auctions, maybe buying from distressed owners, looking at 100 properties and buying one. It really takes a lot of time, money, and effort to find deals that are good enough, because the magic number for that is you need to pay about 65% of retail minus your fix-up cost to make those deals really make sense. Now, why do I say that? Because first of all, whatever you think is going to be your fix-up cost is not really going to be your fix-up cost. Every construction project has cost overruns, has time overruns, which costs you money, because when you have a time overrun, you're paying for insurance, utilities, taxes, all the holding costs, mortgage payments, the holding costs on the property. So literally time is money in a property. So fix and flip, the big challenge is finding them that cheaply. Now I've done that business successfully. The way that I did it was going to mortgage foreclosure auctions and tax foreclosure auctions, buying properties at those bargain bin prices, and then fixing them up and reselling them. And when the market is going up, you're literally printing money. It's just fantastic. When the market's flat, you can do okay, you just have to make sure you get really good deals. If the market's declining, you're dead. So part of the rule to thinking about fix and flip is look at the area that you're in. Is it a place that's flat? Is it a place that's going up in value because a lot more people are moving in, a lot more population is coming in, jobs are coming to the area? Or is it a declining area? Now, if you're in a declining area, I suggest you don't invest in any real estate in that area. The reason I say that, in a declining area, the values go down over time. So any property that you hold for long-term rental, it's going to go down over time and get harder to sell. If you try to fix and flip, if the property starts declining while you're fixing it up, that's going to eat up your profit margin. So if you're in a declining area, forget it. If you're in a flat area, it's okay. Then you just have to make sure you shop and find the bargains. I operated in a flat area for many years. I operated in the city of Philadelphia and in the suburbs. That was mostly a flat market. And what I had to do was be really good at sourcing bargain properties. Now, if you're in a place that's increasing in value, like if you've been like in Austin, Texas for the past 15 years, you're crushing it, because even if you make a mediocre deal, by the time you're exiting it, it's going up, or if you have a rental, the rents are going up. So think about the area that you're in and whether it makes sense to do fix and flips there and rentals. With the fix and flip though, the big challenge is finding that property at the right price. And I know it sounds crazy, but when you do the math, you really want to buy that property for 65% of its retail minus your estimated fix-up cost. That gives you the margins for cost overruns. It gives you the margins for maybe a market being flat or declining a little bit. gives the margin that you need. And fix and flips are fun. I've had a lot of fun with them. You make lump sums of money. But the other thing about fix and flips that I'm not a big fan of is it really is a grind. You have to keep doing property after property after property after property, and you have to keep finding them and then fixing them and selling them. And really it's the finding that becomes the grind. Now the people that do really well with this are people that set up a system. They set up a system for doing direct mail to solicit owners that are very motivated to sell. They're going to the auctions for foreclosures and mortgage foreclosures and tax foreclosures every month. They're sourcing properties from all over because that's the biggest challenge in that business. And then they have managers that will manage the site renovation. And they have contractors that they're hiring all the time and doing enough work that they get guys that will pay attention to them. So that's fix and flip. I like it in the right area, which is basically a rising market. And if you have a good source for properties at cheap prices, you'll do great in that business. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of it. The second choice is rentals. And rentals really take two flavors. One is the Airbnb type model. And we're talking any short-term rental model. Airbnb is just one brand name. But that's where you rent out the property overnight, you get hotel-like rates, and if you add it up over the course of a month, that's a much higher rent than you'd get on a long-term rental. Now, short-term rentals, they can be excellent in the right area. Now, what are the right areas? It's places that people like to come and stay. Now, it might be on vacation. They come there for vacation, they'll pay well for it. Maybe it's in a ski town or maybe it's someplace else where people come frequently during the summer. Can be really great. Where I don't like it is where it's prohibited by law. There are a lot of cities, like take New York City, for example, or Las Vegas, Nevada. They pretty much shut down the short-term rentals. They don't want the competition with the hotels, and they've really shut it down. So you need to, when you're looking at a short-term rental plan, take a look and see, is there any legislation that would stop you from working in that area? Usually the legislation takes the form of, you can do rentals that are 30 days or longer. Well, that's not a short-term rental plan, and that's not going to get you the bump that you want for rents. So I would say short-term rental, that's the biggest thing, is take a look at the laws and also look in an area where there are a lot of people coming in. Other areas that can be very good are places around hospitals, especially children's hospitals, where people are going to come, they're going to stay for a while they're taking care of their son or daughter who has an illness. Very sad situation, but you can provide them really nice housing. Because for a family, and I know because I'm a family man, it's much more comfortable to stay in a house or a condominium when you have your family with you. You have a washer and a dryer and you can cook. It's way more comfortable. So that's a short-term rental. I really like it. If you're going to do that business, I would suggest you go and get some really high-quality education. Look at some of the courses that are out there, pick one or two, go through them, start to really learn the business, learn how to evaluate the market, learn how to advertise your property, learn how to take pictures, learn how to stage it, learn how to manage it. You're really managing a small hotel operation, and it can be very lucrative and wonderful, but it's something to be thoughtful about before you go into it. And again, like they say in real estate, location, location, location. If you're in a location with a lot of people coming in and they permit the short-term rentals, it's fantastic. If you're not, then it's a loser and you don't want to do it. Another way that's really innovative is wholesaling. Now, wholesaling for someone that's new in the business is really a neat little business. There, what you do is you're going and finding deals and flipping them to typically other investors. And this can be great when you're starting out because you don't have to close on the property, you don't have to get a mortgage, you don't have to use your credit or your savings. Instead, you become an expert at acquiring properties at the right price, meaning getting them under contract, and then you flip that contract to other investors. Now, other investors may pay as much as, say, 70 cents on the dollar for a fix and flip. I think that's too much, but sometimes they'll do that. So if you get it under contract for, say, 65 cents on the dollar, well, if you think of a $200,000 house, so that you got it under contract for $120,000, and someone was willing to pay you 70% of retail, which is $130,000, there's a $10,000 spread in there. And what a wholesaler does is, in exchange for the $10,000 paid up front, you turn over the contract to the person that's going to close on it and then do whatever they're going to do. Keep it for a rental or do a fix and flip. And the reason that people will pay for that is exactly what I talked about with the fix and flips. It's hard to find good deals. So if you're effective at doing that as a wholesaler, you can really make a lot of money. And what you're going to want to do with that is, again, get a course so you can learn about it. But the essentials are, you want to get buyers that are actively buying. You can find them in your local real estate investor associations. You can look for ads for I Buy Houses, talk to the people behind that and say, hey, I'm a wholesaler, what are you looking for? Give me your criteria and if I have something, I'll get it to you. You ideally want to have at least 6 or 7 buyers in your pipeline so that when you send out a text saying, here's a deal I've got under contract, it's 123 Main Street, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it needs a new kitchen and paint, and it's $200,000, whatever it is. You send that out, and then the first to say yes and give you the cash gets the contract. This is not they pay you later, it's not they pay you when they sell it, it's cash on the barrelhead in exchange for you turning over your contract. It's kind of like being a real estate agent in its own way, except you're dealing with investors and you're dealing with properties that you get under contract, and then for a fee, you turn your contract over to the other person. Now, this is something, again, to learn about, dive deep. Who it's right for is the person who's just beginning. And the person who says, you know what, I'm going to learn how to be a great property sourcer, because that is the best, most valuable skill in a fix and flip business. So if you can tune your skills and become a good marketer and a person getting good at getting properties under contract, as you make some money from your wholesaling, you'll get great deals. And then when you have some cash together, you can take one of those deals for yourself because you've learned the skills of acquiring properties at a low risk way. And wholesaling, if you structure it correctly, if you can't close, you don't lose anything. So that can be a really, really great way to do it. But again, learn about it if you're going to enter to that business. But the person it's right for is that newer investor who's just starting out, and you're going to develop your number one skill, and you're going to do it without using your own cash or credit. Another thing I alluded to was long-term rentals. How does that work? Well, long-term rentals are great for long-term wealth. Long-term rentals, ideally, you're going to start out with maybe single-family houses or duplexes and triplexes. Those are great to start out with, but as you get on top of it, my suggestion is that you look at buildings. And a lot of times what a newer investor is going to do is buy maybe a smaller building, 50 units to 100 units. And the smaller buildings, especially the 50 units, are kind of an odd size. They're not ones that large property managers want to get involved with because there's not quite enough economies of scale. But it is something that a small investor can handle with a small team. You probably have a maintenance guy, probably have one person to do showings and meet with tenants. So a very small team and a fairly simple process and pretty simple to analyze. So I like those, but as quick as you can, I'd get into looking at bigger properties, which are 100 units on up. Those are ones where we're going to have full-time on-site management, where you can be the managers of your on-site management, not of your time taken up. You're not the one that gets a call at midnight when someone clogs up the toilet. Your management does, and they take care of it. So I really like those. And if you're in an area that over the long term is doing well, meaning it's seeing increases in population and jobs and things like that, you can really do extremely well with those rental properties because the rents are going to go up as more people come in, and you can really make a lot of money because your costs are pretty much fixed. Your mortgage rate is going to be fixed. Your costs are more or less fixed. So when your rents go up, that just creates extra profit for you. So it can be a really great way to make a lot of money. And there's a housing shortage in America. There's been a housing shortage. It seems to be endless. They keep putting up new blockades to building new housing. And new housing's gotten much more expensive to build because of inflation and the cost of building materials and the shortages of labor and the inflation in labor. So it can really be a great, great business for the long-term thinker. I don't think it's for the short-term thinker. I think it's long-term because these aren't things that you fix and flip. Not if you're smart anyway. These are things you acquire, you fix, and then you just enjoy that cash flow over and over again over the years. Now, I will touch briefly on just commercial for a moment. Then I'm going to talk about the mistakes that you must avoid if you want to keep your wallet and do well in this business. With commercial properties, if you're a beginner, I would really avoid them. There are a lot more hazards. There's environmental problems with them. The analysis is much more difficult, and it's much more sophisticated because one property that's next to the other may have completely different value because of the tenants that are in there and the leases. So it's not nearly as easy as smaller properties to analyze. So I would avoid those at the beginning. I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to look at commercial, I would look at that later in your career, not at the beginning. So let me talk about the mistakes that I see people just crushing themselves financially with. Number one mistake is just diving in and getting a deal. As an attorney, I bailed many investors out as best I can when they just dove in to get a deal. And what's that mean? Well, they went out with a realtor, they saw properties, they didn't see anything in the criteria that they were told to use, like buy at 65% of retail minus fix-up costs, and they're like, no, houses aren't available at that rate. So then they spend 80, 85 cents a dollar. This will be great, I'll make 20%, I paid 80%. No, you won't, because you have interest, you have carrying charges like utilities, taxes, insurance, mortgage payments, interest expenses. It gets very expensive. A fix and flip typically takes 6 months or so you have half a year's worth of interest, half a year's worth of taxes and insurance. And as you may know, insurance is not getting any cheaper, it's expensive. And then you have cost overruns, so you just don't have anything left at the end of the day. So when you get involved with any real estate, Spend your time to learn the market, to do the analysis, to look carefully at that property. Do not get frustrated and just dive right in. It is a fool's errand to do that, and it's what will absolutely kill you. So that's number one. The second thing is getting involved with bad partners. I've been involved with many partnerships, and the ones that have caused me problems have been, number one, with people who think they know what they're doing in real estate but have no idea what they're doing. And these are often doctors and lawyers. Now, I'm a lawyer, so maybe I'm more able to criticize them. Often lawyers and doctors think that because they know lawyering and doctoring, that they know about real estate investing and everything else. And they don't. It's not their training. Now, they may, because of separate life experience like I have, I know real estate. But otherwise, they don't know. But I can tell you they can be extremely aggressive and forceful with what they want, and it's just not where you want to be. So my suggestion is that if you're putting a deal together, do not go into a 50-50 partnership. Go into a partnership where you stay in control, where someone, yes, they're lending money, they're going to get a return on that, but they're not going to be in control of the project. I had one guy that he came into one of my projects. This is a financial guy. He was a very well-educated Ivy League guy who, again, was in this category of people who think they know what they don't know. Next thing I know, he's trying to help me pick out faucets. And I was like, dude, just get back. First of all, you're way too involved with my project. You don't know what you're talking about, and get out because you're slowing things down. And he got his nose out of joint, and we ended up breaking up that partnership right then and there because you cannot let people do that. You can't let people run your deals who don't know what they're doing. You have a concept of your deal. You have a plan for your deal. You have to have the confidence to run through with it. So when you're getting investors or partners, make sure that they have a minority position. So you can listen to their advice, listen to their input, but ultimately you make the decision because you're the one that needs to be the expert if you're the investor. You're the one that's going to develop your skills. You're the one that's going to take the classes and learn. But what you're not going to do is let somebody who doesn't know what they're doing come in and control your deal. It really is just a recipe for a mess. The third problem I see people doing is ignoring the numbers. Instead of looking at what the reality is, they make justifications for why something is something different than what it is. And I had a partner with one of these in a commercial building where he would look at it and we had 30% vacancy. And I said, this is a real problem. How are we going to fix it? And he said, well, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. And I said, great. He tried. It didn't fix it. And then I said, well, why isn't this fixed? Oh, it was this excuse, that excuse, the other excuse. So then I went in and said, look, let me see if I can try a hand at this, see what happens. I did all the professional marketing that you could do. And the problem was with the market. It wasn't with the particular property. It wasn't that it wasn't being marketed. It was just the market had really declined. And this was a commercial building with office space. And the office space market had declined. And I just said, this isn't going to work out. This is one that's not going to work. We need to sell it. I ended up with a big battle with someone who didn't know what they were doing because they thought that because other properties have sold for more, and real estate commercial is often valued in dollars per square foot. And he would show me these properties that sold for $200 a square foot that were in a different section of town, completely different class of building, different use, different tenants. They had long-term tenants that were paying high lease rates. And I said, we've got a partly empty building in a worse section of town, and ours is a Class C building, and those are Class A buildings, nothing to do with one another. So anyway, what you want to do when you're in business is look to see the truth of something. Not what you wish it is, not what you hope it is, what it actually is. See it, and if you have to pull the plug on something, pull the plug on it as fast as possible. Do not let problems sit and fester. They only get worse. So if you're going to this business, believe the facts. Leave your emotions behind. Be cold-blooded about analyzing your real estate deals and analyze them like if you're looking at a fix and flip and everything on the street goes for $200,000, your house is a $200,000 house. It's not $300,000 because you're going to fix it up nicer. It's not $225,000. It's $200,000. Because no matter how nice you make that house, it's still going to be pulled towards the average value in that neighborhood. And that doesn't matter whether it's a $400,000 house, $1 million house, doesn't matter. All of them the same. They get pulled towards that median value. And you certainly don't want to overdo it with repairs. So that's my advice. I think if you're starting out right now, look at wholesaling. Maybe look at fix and flip if you're in the right market and if you think you can source those deals. And certainly look at rentals, both short-term and long-term. Those are all great things to do. Keep educating yourself. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. I'm always talking about real estate investing, and often about ways to get properties at bargain prices and about businesses that you can do with moderate to low startup costs, but with great success potential. So this is Attorney Bob Diamond. Been great being with you here today. I'll see you next time.